Welcome to Real Estate AI Flash, the show where AI goes from hype to habit. I'm your host, Rajeev Sajja. Each week, we make AI approachable and actionable for real estate professionals who want to stay ahead of the curve. From lead generation to listing presentations, from marketing strategy to client experience, you'll hear how top agents and industry leaders are using AI to work smarter, save time, and grow their business. So whether you're just getting started or already experimenting with AI tools, this podcast gives you ideas you can use right now. Now let's get to this week's special guest. Welcome, folks, to another episode. I can't believe we're in March already of Real Estate AI Flash. And I have from the great state of Massachusetts, from the city of Boston, Joe Turco with eXp Realty today. And Joe and I connected, I think, on Instagram through a common guest, Blair Knowles, who is from the state of Vermont. And I found out that Joe was doing some cool stuff with AI, and I said, you know what? The best person that should talk about AI on our podcast today should be Joe Turco. So, Joe, welcome to the podcast.
Well, thank you. I mean, I love being here. I love just how much we're doing in this community right now, because I think one of the big things that people aren't realizing is if you're not getting a foothold in now, well, you're missing out not just now, but for the next decade. And the people that are, that 0.01%, it's going to change their lives in ways that they just don't understand. So I'm excited about it. I love it. I'm glad that, you got to have Blair, you got to have my boy Perna on. You're having all the heavy hitters, and that just shows, your audience, how amazing your connections are. So I appreciate being here so much.
Oh, of course, Joe. Look, I think when as you know, when ChatGPT first launched, I dug in probably just like you early on. And I just felt that creating a platform that provides actionable AI insights for our listening audience to make AI approachable and actionable for real estate professionals is the mission for this podcast. It is brand agnostic because we want to serve the industry. When you help the industry, it helps everybody. So Joe, I barely gave you an elevator pitch of introduction for probably what a storied career of the last 12 years. So how did you get into real estate?
So I guess it's one of those things where I have to say, it wasn't my first career. It was where circumstantially I was, moving back to Boston full time. I had spent a lot of time working overseas and in, many different countries, Southeast Asia mostly. And I needed that kind of new thing. So before, real estate, I was actually in the footwear industry. In the corporate world for Converse and Nike. And I spent years working in an environment where it was about execution. It was about brand, and, scaling wasn't optional. It was just part of the culture. It's what you had to do. So, having that time overseas, that whole experience shaped how I thought. And, it wasn't this thing where it was always just about trying harder or doing whatever. It was about building systems. It was about building efficiencies. So what happened was I got into real estate after coming back to Boston and had to say, all right, I need to execute at the same level as I did in my previous career. So I started out as a solo agent, and then in year 2, I started growing a team, just like I had ran a team, in my past experience. And it was one of those things where I looked at how to build out efficiency, how to build out models, how to not just be the agent that was running around like a crazy person. So what happened was I keyed in on a couple specific things, dug in deep into it, which, honestly, I now developed into what I call the office hours approach, which is, a structured way of building a real estate business. And pretty soon I had this 25-person team a couple years in, and things were going great. And I was pulling my hair out because, when you have a team that size, all of a sudden you have a lot of people depending on you. And then, 2022, I had, my first son in 2020, I had my second in 2022, and life changed. Any parent can tell you, life changes when you hit that number 2. So what happened was I had kind of a couple light bulb moments. I slowed down the team a little bit and focused on all right, what is going on? What is happening in AI? How can we make it where we supercharge everything that we're doing and kind of like get to that next level. So, in 2026, we're relaunching a national team. We're trying to make a new model, which is based on AI and providing, just kind of like you talked about in this platform, like how to be the best of the best and give that back to the industry. And it's like, it's so exciting, man, because the amount of things that you can do for people, with people, and teach them to be something different is just amazing. So like, I know that's kind of a roundabout way about talking about how I got into real estate, why I got into real estate, but I think at the core of it is because it speaks to me, because I'm a person that likes to help people. I like to have efficiency, and I like to not necessarily hear about the same echo chamber stuff that we sometimes hear about in real estate, where it's like, oh my God, everybody's saying the same thing. So like, we're almost indoctrinated to like, that's how it has to be. And I just get excited because like, we are at that critical moment where everybody can break out, do things in a way that speaks to them, and do them at the highest levels. And I know a lot of people are gonna be like, oh, okay, high level, buzzword, all that kind of stuff. And it's like, no, this is where like you can execute and have a life. You can provide the best service, but also have great marketing that's thoughtful and not generic. You can have all of these things because what AI has allowed is us to, one, go deeper on research, go deeper on automation, go deeper on having a plan, and I think for our industry, most importantly, deeper for analysis. So that leaves more time for things like charity work. I do a lot with like St. Jude's. So like, it just makes it where you're a happier, more satisfied person. And to come full circle, that means you give better service to your clients.
100%. One of the key, thanks for that detail. One of the key takeaways I have with you and others that have, some of our other guests on the podcast have been, those people that have joined real estate from a corporate career, that have had systems in place seem to gravitate to build systems to scale their business faster. Because most real estate agents I think, struggle with understanding the need and the importance of building systems. And kudos to you, because you sort of took a learning from a previous career and you sort of got to where you got to quicker than most people would. So great takeaways there. So the next question, before we sort of dig into the meat of some of the AI use cases that you're sort of seeing and implementing, what was your first light bulb moment with AI?
So it's going to sound kind of mean, so I apologize in advance. I mean, I'm from Boston. It's not always, the nicest. It's kind. It's not nice. I think it's the fact that too many people were playing small. So I kind of liken it to people were trying to make TV commercials instead of making that like 11 season epic, TV drama, Game of Thrones, something where like it's building, it's layers, it's coming at you in all directions, but there's that kind of pull up the mountain of like, where are we going? What's happening? That creates this big campaign and shows who you are and what you are. And I was just like, it's so much easier now. We have tools that can like check if we're in alignment with our goals for that campaign. We can think out ahead much quicker. It can give us, ideas. It can also poke holes in it. And instead of making all these little commercials that everybody forgets within a few seconds, we can start building at a brand level these just epic stories, these epic tales of like what we do, how we do it, and why we do it. And that to me was the light bulb moment. It was like, I can go in as if I had this whole content team around me, and I can execute at that level just by myself.
100%, yeah. I mean, the more you start to have, doesn't matter where your first light bulb moment was. Joe's was more futuristic. How can I sort of build systems and campaigns and things of that nature? I think the more you use it, the more light bulb moments you'll have. And I think it unleashes creativity that was only limited to a few people in the past.
I would completely agree. And like, honestly, I'm telling people all the time, AI isn't about prompts. It's about skills. It's, we're like, you can think of it as like, there's a couple like main skill pillars that are coming out as you're using AI. And, you got to love learning. you got to have a healthy amount of skepticism, I think. You have to, love to learn in public, because I think that's one of the interesting parts of it. It's where you have to understand what your context is and how to engineer around it. It's where, you use AI almost like a sparring partner. It's like, okay, like, hey, I'm going to hit you with this, hit me back with something, because, well, that's how fighters train. They spar. It's not that it's like the main fight, but it's like, okay, we're going to go a couple rounds. We're going to get in there, and it's going to teach you something. And the other thing is like, you have to look at how you're actually using it. Like, okay, are you familiar with vibe coding? Are you actually building out a couple AI systems? And then here's the one that I know everybody's going to groan at me, and this is 100% that corporate background, but documentation. Like, if you talk to most agents, they could not tell you their process, or they could, but they couldn't hand it off to somebody. They couldn't make it where it's an easy transition for both growth, for scale, or for outsourcing. Everybody's, got it in their heads, and that's awesome until it's not. So, I mean, that's kind of like my thing. And I don't know, I get so excited about kind of showing people that light bulb moment when they're like, wait, this is what AI really is. It's not just like this ChatGPT prompt. You can do all of this. Like, wow, that's amazing.
And I think to double click on what you just said about documentation, and most agents, okay, so if you're listening to this, you hear the word standard operating procedure, or like SOP. Mm-hmm. And most of you probably know this. You haven't tried it maybe. You can talk to AI as well. You just don't know how to type it. So you can go on a walk in the morning, or whenever you walk, that is. You can actually have a conversation with ChatGPT and say, whatever, I'm going to tell you my process for buyers, tell you my process for sellers, tell you my process for prospecting. Create, at the end of it, ask me some clarifying questions so you can produce a standard operating procedure so you can understand my needs, how I communicate, how I don't. So it is not that hard, even if you're starting at ground zero today. You can do that in like an hour, at least a starting point, right, Joe?
100% agree. And to me, consistency is like the big thing. So like, ironically, that's one of the things that I do with a platform called Otter AI. And then I take that transcript and I punch it into GPT, actually mostly Claude now, but GPT-2, and I actually ask it to poke holes in it so that I can then go one level deeper, saying like, okay, here's the second transcript. Here are the additional thoughts. Here's the filler pieces that, hey, I may have missed, I may have glossed over. And it's almost like you have that second set of eyes, even on your own documentation.
For sure. And those of you that aren't familiar with Otter, you should. It's a software note taker that you have on your phone. It's on your computer. I use a hardware device called Plod. Nice. Same thing. Concept's the same. Find one that fits you. It's not what you use, it's how you use it. And that's what Joe's doubling down on. So, all right, so let's get to your specific. We've already touched on a few use cases. If you just implement that, you've gotten the value from Joe's episode here. But let's kind of get into some specific use cases that you feel will move the needle for agents that you see.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's one of those things where you have to look at like how your business is built and how it's structured. And, do you want to be chained to your phone, or do you want to have control of your schedule? I think that's the one thing. And big shout out to like my partners and friends that have flex teams, and man, they are chained to those phones. But like things like having an AI voice ISA or a response, or just having a receptionist where people can come in as a lead, be responded to, be reached out to, they can call back, have an appointment scheduled. And all of that is just within a voice AI structure, which people are used to. Because I know everybody's right now going, oh my God, Joe, like, that's not for me. People are going to know it's fake. It's going to be crazy. Go to a Wendy's. Go to the drive-thru. Guess what? You are not talking to a person anymore. All of that crazy, just like, kind of like tin can, you see it in the movies, like you can't understand that person. It's gone. It's now an AI voice. You can't, reason with it. It's just, you talk to it, you give it the order, it goes, and then you see the person at the window. So if people are saying like, oh my God, that's not going to work, you're already behind. Because if Wendy's can do it, you can do it.
Yeah. So Joe, double down on what tool are you currently using that helps you with, there's several tools in the marketplace. Is there something that agents should look into? And we'll put a link to these in the show notes as well.
Perfect. Yeah, so I'm very big on, and I'm just going to kind of take one step back,
Yeah.
making sure that all of our marketing is in one place. Now, this is where, again, controversial. I feel strongly you should have a completely separate marketing CRM from your production CRM. So for me, my marketing CRM, everything is built out and attached to go high level. So like,
Yep.
if you're familiar with it, it's easy. If you're not familiar with it, it's going to seem daunting, but it's worth learning. Now, in terms of the actual voice AI, there's a couple options that I like. Go High Level has an integrated one that's right there. That's a little easier. But I like Vappy.
Yeah.
It can send things through API. It's also where you can use 11 Labs, which
Yep.
is another company, and you can integrate it so that you can make a voice clone of yourself. So like you call in, sounds like me. Great. Love it. Perfect. Even though it's not. Because what is it that we want? We want familiarity. We want people to trust. So if they feel like, oh, well, sounds like Joe, okay, perfect. I've already gotten to know his voice. So that way, when I'm on the phone with them, when I'm right there in front of them, and I can say, hey, I'm articulate for a Bostonian. I can kind of say my ahs. And it's one of those things that like, all right, it feels familiar. But that's the big thing. And, there's other ones. There's like, CloserX.ai, there's Voice Genie, there's SynthFlow, there's another one called Retell. There's so many different options. You just have to kind of look out for what is going to fit for your budget, your needs. And I think the big thing with it is don't assume that you need to spend thousands upon thousands of dollars a month to get an effective tool.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Interesting. So a lot of people, like to your point, Wendy's is using it. You don't even know you're talking to an AI agent. I think the focus, if you're listening to this, should shift from what people think from that mindset to the value you're bringing to your customers that are interfacing with your AI, right? And like example, I was on the American Airlines website the other day, and I'm sure American Airlines is listening to this podcast. If you are, you should get a smart AI chatbot because your customer service just absolutely sucked that day. I was on the phone for 4 hours. Now, if it was an AI chatbot, it was a simple question of a change in flight, but I had to talk to a human. And if an AI helped me solve that, I would care less if it was an AI because you're fulfilling a need that exists, right?
Well, I feel that painfully because about 3 days ago, I was coming back from Aspen. Yes, I can hear the groans. Yes, it was fun. But all the flights got delayed, and Aspen is a tiny airport. And, it got delayed. Then my connector flight got delayed, and then it got changed. And it was a nightmare because there's everybody trying to change those flights. Like you said, if there was just a chatbot where I could have went like, oh, boop, 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 done, it would have saved so much time, so much like heartburn. And not to mention, think about like the manpower hours of like someone having to talk to each of those people with the same problem and they're just getting more frustrated. Done. 30 seconds.
100%.
Every person.
And also, if you're thinking of, I want to be more transparent with my customers that interface with my brand, there's absolutely nothing wrong and sometimes recommended. You could also say this is the digital assistant for your name.
So I actually have a slight spin on that.
Yeah.
I have them say digital outreach coordinator. Because it's
perfect.
It's
sounds fancy, and we can go with it, Joe. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. And whatever term, so that you're being transparent, but again, focus on the customer and the service you're providing and elevate that experience, and nobody is going to care.
Exactly.
Right.
And the great thing is these voice AIs are now at a level where you can program it to ask like, hey, is this something that you have an immediate need or concern? I can connect you with Joe. I can merge that call in. I get a phone call and, oh no, like I don't need that. I just want to set an appointment. Great. Can look at my calendar and it's done.
Yeah, 100%. So voice AI is a key takeaway. Look into it. We'll put some of the links to what Joe mentioned in the show notes. So let's get into use case number 2 that you're seeing that's adding a lot of value to agents, Joe?
So, I mean, I think that, again, is going back to what we kind of touched on, and that's the macro marketing strategy.
Yeah.
I mean, think about it. Is it difficult to think of like one post a day? Yeah. Do we really want everything to look like confetti on like our socials, on our newsletters, on what we're putting out there as our brand? No. We want it to be tailored. We want it to be where people are tuning in. Like, if you know that something comes out on a Tuesday, well, you expect it on a Tuesday. Now, what we can do is we can have those kind of macro marketing strategies where there's different layers. Like, we can have luxury Tuesdays. We can have relocation Thursdays. We can have first-time homebuyers on a specific day. And if you think about it, well, is it very difficult to figure out with what we're doing 52 posts? No. Is that a year of content? Yes. Now, all of a sudden, we're not just talking about, hey, we're talking about real estate. We're talking about we have different verticals within it, speaking to specific audiences that will like either a television show, a podcast, a YouTube show, will tune in on specific days knowing that that content is for them. If you tune in Tuesday, you know it's this. If you're tuning in on Thursdays, you know it's this. But you also have that access of the cross-pollination for the people that want different topics within it. And it's easy because all of a sudden you've planned that out and bam, that's that one day a week for the next year. Is there 7 topics in real estate that you can talk about? I mean, I would say absolutely yes, pretty easily.
Yeah.
Having it be where it's like, okay, those topics build on each other so they're not flash on the pan, where you can also reference back like, hey, you know what? I know we talked about this a couple weeks ago, but here's the thing that we didn't get to. And oh my God, it's mind-blowing. Not only does it intrigue that new person that just saw it, but it causes them to go back to old content. It's about that interlinking of what you're doing and making your short term more evergreen, more long-term, while still feeling concise and targeted and focused. So, I mean, I think that's like the biggest things. Like, if you're not thinking about things in a year-long campaign, what are you doing? Because you can always do that one-off, like, hey, I just had an idea, I want to put it out there. Sprinkle that in whenever you want, but have the backbone of your brand, having that message always be on point, always be building. And I'm probably going to say building 1,000,000 times, so probably the worst drinking game ever if you're listening to this podcast right now, but that's what, in my mind, gets me excited. Like, I want things to build. I want them to grow. I want them to, like, elevate. I don't ever want them to just kind of sit there and look small. I want it to be the things that basically build this fortress of, like, hey, here's who we are, here's what we do, and here's why it's important.
100%. I mean, one of the things that, based on your roadmap that you've sort of created for building, I mean, real estate content, I usually say that you can categorize them under 2 categories at a high level. One is timely. Mm-hmm. Think of mortgage rates. Like, there's some things happen that you have some cadence of release. And then there's timeless, stuff that matters to over a long period of time. And to your point, I mean, if you pick out a topic, Mortgage Mondays.
Yeah.
Right? First-time home buyer Tuesdays, whatever those categories are, you are creating quality content that is timeless, and over time, it'll help you in a myriad of ways, not just informing your audience with where AI search is going.
Yep.
That's a whole other podcast episode, but it will influence the algorithms to show that you are the trusted expert on those topics and will drive more inquiries to you. So I think content creation and scaling that, and not just like confettiing the content, just having a plan and building that out, there's never been an easier time to do that with the help of AI. And I think that's really what you're hitting at.
Exactly. So, I mean, one of the things too is, like, I have a marketing agency centered around YouTube, and we love building out our campaigns because we quickly get people to the top of the rankings for a city. So, like, if you, for example, put into YouTube, you know, moving to Dallas, Texas, or, you know, living in Dallas, Texas, one of our clients is going to come up as the top result. Why? because we're not doing all of these like generic things. We're doing everything where it's intentional and it builds. And you can use that on Instagram. You can use that on TikTok. You can use that on Facebook. I know a lot of people sleep on Facebook because now it's like the old person thing and it feels played out. That's actually where like some of the best bets are right now. And people are like sleeping on it. And the great thing is too is once you do this, it's almost as if you have an entire backbone for any type of content that you want to do. So like it can be video, it can be short form, it can be a longer form, it can be, you bring someone in and you interview about that topic. It's where you have a million options, but you've already done the work. And it's almost like it's up to your whim of like, all right, well, how deep do you want to go on that thing? How much do you love it? Like, as you said, is something timely happening where like, all right, Mortgage Monday is no longer just Mortgage Monday. Mortgage Monday, we are going to have a full-on media blitz because something happened, but now we're ready and just push it.
100%, 100%. Great takeaway on the scaling content, personalized content, and building authority. So let's get to a use case number 3, and then we'll ask you the final 2 questions, Joe.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Yeah. What else are you seeing?
Oh, I think some of the other things that you really got to look at is like, all right, we're now in the AI age. You got to understand that your website is actually important. And, are you having a branding website? Are you having a lead gen website? My thought is you should have one of each. And I know that's like, oh my God, that's more work. That's crazy. But if you think about it, the lead gen that obviously attaches to CRM, that's going to be a very different focus than the pulling in attention, to showing that your brand is the authority, that showing that you are the person that they should do. Well, how does that translate? Well, it translates into blogs. It translates into putting out pages. Think of blogs as kind of like short form, and then think of like the pages as the long form or the evergreen or the foundations. So you have to like look at, well, where's authority showing? Where are the backlinks? Are you working actively on that? What is your competition doing? Are you looking at, one of my favorite things is like, all right, I'm going to go into ChatGPT. I'm going to put in a question like, hey, who's the best realtor in this area? And people think like, oh, GPT is, actually searching for what you asked it. No, it's searching for a bunch of different things. So, and this is going to sound crazy and technical, but if you grab the little string at the end of the domain bar in your browser, it's going to be just like a string of numbers. You then inspect the actual page, you hit Control F and you search for it. You're going to be able to see within the code what it actually was searching for. And with that, because it's kind of like 3 or 4 different things, you can start making content, whether it's blogs, whether it's video, whether it's short form or long, about exactly that, because now you're seeing how it's actually searching in the criteria. So you can block out competition, because if you just keep doing that all the time, well, you're making the content that it wants.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things where I think people are sleeping and they need to wake up to just how important their website is now and to dedicate time and resources to it.
100%. I think you hit on some very good points there, specifically around, studying with AI. Seeing who's getting ranked and why they're getting ranked will give you all the strategy you need, and then you just need to focus on executing that strategy. To your point, you mentioned blogs, pages, turning those blogs into same things on YouTube, long form video, and YouTube Shorts. People have been sleeping on YouTube Shorts. I'll tell you, even our podcast gets like 500 to 1,000 views on a specific clip for like 30 seconds. So I think once you create, I'm a big believer in create content once and distribute forever.
Correct.
And like a timeless mechanism. So the other thing I found out, Joe, and I'm sure you're also aware of it, anything that's public, AI is crawling. And that's just like SEOs. So Reddit was very popular originally. It still is a popular place, but YouTube has sort of come up there a lot now for AI search. And even public Facebook groups are being crawled. So use words with intent when you respond to things anywhere. reviews, etc.? You want to add a comment there before I get to my final question?
I do, because there's a new up and coming one that everybody, because I know you're listening to this, so I know you're cutting edge. I know that you're getting to the top of things. You should check out Dig. It's basically a souped up version of Reddit that is already getting a ton of traction with answer engines, and you can go in and lock up a lot of different SEO, AEO friendly. Think of them as basically like subreddits, but they're called communities. So,
That's
like
great.
living in Boston, you want that search term, right?
Right, yeah.
It's you can go lock that up. So, like, it is amazing how just a little effort. If you add like, hey, I got to do 5 things for my SEO today, and one of them is I got to go comment on a couple things in Reddit.
Yeah.
I got to make a couple things in Dig. I got to go make a quick short form video and put it to YouTube Shorts. And you do those couple things, it's not going to take months. It's going to take weeks, and you're going to start seeing a dramatic result.
100%. All right, well, Joe, the content you're sharing, I could talk to you for hours, but I know we got to wind it down. So let me get to the final 2 questions I ask all my guests. You've been in real estate for 12 years.
Yep.
So if you had to look back and advise your younger self, what is the one piece of advice you'd give yourself if you're starting a business now?
I think, honestly, it would be to not really worry about a ton of everything. It would be to stay focused, stay lean, and to really kind of like get in there. So, like, build something that's repeatable, not just for yourself, but for every member of your team. So, like, if you can do it, they can do it. And if they bring on another person, they can do it, because that's where you're going to really get ahead. I mean, I guess I would call it like build a repeatable business, but not necessarily a personality business.
Yeah.
I mean, talent helps, work ethic helps, but repeatable systems, they win. And I think you have to be careful, because that structure will compound. Whereas everything else in the real estate industry, it's almost like they're turning a light switch on in your brain, and all of a sudden you have ADHD and you're at like a rave. Everything's flashing. There's something new every second, and like you're just getting stims from everywhere. So be the person that is almost like not tunnel vision, but locked in.
Yeah.
Like, you know your goal.
Yeah.
And then I think kind of building on that, like the next thing I would tell that person or myself is be obsessed with efficiency. Like, efficiency is going to do more for your business than you would ever expect, because most agents are like trying to look busy, and the agents who like are really winning right now, they're the ones who build routines consistently that generate all those opportunities, like open houses, like follow-up systems, like good consistent quality content. Like, if you can make it where you go to an open house and at the end of the open house you've hosted an experience, number 1. Number 2, you've followed up with every single person that has, spoken to you within the last 48 to 72 hours. And if you walk out with, video for 4 to 5 pieces of content, well, that's a pretty good 2-hour open house, right?
Yeah.
Like, but then you look at it, and some agents, that's what they do in a week. And you're like, well, that was 2 hours. What are you doing? There's 38 more hours if you're just limiting it to 40. Like, come on, guys. Like, we can do so much more. We just have to be thoughtful about it. But I'm going to make like a super old school reference. You're not sitting in the kitchen playing snood. So older agents, I know there's a couple blue hairs out there that remember what I'm talking about. Like, that's pointing at you. Do a little bit more.
Yeah.
I think the last thing, because you said I get 3, right?
Yeah, go for it. Yeah.
Okay, I would say build your brand like a real brand. So if you want to scale, you need a message that, tells people that. And it's honestly a message that isn't just you saying it, but is where it's actually told and repeated when you're not in the room. That's kind of a thing people don't realize, is like, your brand is not what you say it is. It's what people say when you're not there. So like, it's not about like colors or logos or company. I mean, branding is basically trust at scale. So like, if you're not having that, you don't have anything. Because I mean, brand isn't your name on the wall. I mean, a lot of people think it is. It's your companies that other people, they show that they want to be a part of supporting. It's just like, that is what brand is.
Yeah,
so
100%. 100%. Great takeaways there, guys. I think that's like 12 years of wisdom right there in the last 2 minutes that Joe shared with you. All right, let's get to the final question, Joe. Are you a book or a podcast person?
I am very much a both person. I love reading in ways that are probably unhealthy. I am very fortunate in that I read exceptionally fast, almost to the point of like I had to fall in love with my local library because it was getting far too expensive because I would read through a book so fast. I was like, oh, well,
Yeah.
cool, that was a lot of money. But like I love podcasts. Obviously this one's in my top 10. Hopefully it'll be in top 10 in the rankings. Just gotta, kick out a couple of the other Taylor Swift and Kylie Kelsey podcasts. But we'll get there. We'll get there.
Well, look at this, Joe. So let me have you take a minute and let's wind down and recommend the one book that has probably made more of an influence in your career, impacted you, and the one podcast that has impacted you. Just go with one and let's finish.
Okay, so I'm going to go with the easy one. I'm going to go with the book one. So I am prepared because I've listened to podcasts and I know what it is. So it's this one.
Oh,
it's called Passion Economy. And it's by Adam Davidson. And it's, the new rules for thriving in the 21st century. And I feel like what it does well is it explains the shift that we're kind of living through right now. And that's more so about like, we used to live in this world of like gatekeepers, of people that would like hide away information. And now we're leaning into this idea that anyone can kind of come forward and as an individual build authority. They can have distribution. They can, have business models around their expertise. And that's it. It's almost like you can step out into the world and you can run as fast and as far as you want to, and that is it. There's nobody that can stop that. So I think for real estate agents, that's really the whole game. That's what now is. So having a book that you can look at and be like, all right, this isn't about real estate. This isn't about, all of this different things. It's not like a Tony Robbins book. It's not like self-help motivational. This is talking about kind of the current time that we're in and how to take that leap. And I think more people need a little bit of that.
Perfect. Yeah, great book. We'll put a link to the book in the show notes for sure. And then what's your podcast?
Whoa, that one I was not prepared for. So that one, I'm actually going to go right to my Spotify.
Yeah,
just so that I can look at what is right there. And okay, I'm going to give you two. So the first one is a bit of optimism with
I love it.
Simon Sinek. It's fabulous. I especially love his interview with the CEO or former CEO of WD-40. Now, for everybody, it's like, dude, what are you talking about? That's, of all things, why do I care about that? It is probably one of the best podcast episodes I've ever listened to.
Great.
And then the other one that I love is called Marketing School with Neil Patel.
Yeah, Neil's great.
Neil's great. Those are my top two.
Awesome.
From a business perspective.
Yeah, for sure. Joe, this has been fun. We could talk for a while, but I appreciate you taking the time and joining the podcast. And I hope to see you in real life sometime soon.
Yeah,
we're not that far away.
We're not that far away. It sounds like I just need a dinner invite, and I might be, catching flights, not feelings, but catching flights.
There it is. Yeah, and if I'm ever in Boston, I'll look you up. And if you're ever in Philly, feel free to text me, and we'll definitely meet up in real person. So thank you for your time, Joe.
Absolutely. Thanks so much.